If you catch it just right in the right way, something so simple can make a huge difference. Simple things like cinnamon or mint or ginger can be really profound.
I found that actually turmeric helps me with headaches if I have it.
Yeah, we consider turmeric a circulatory promoter. Like it helps your blood flow. And so we put it in a lot of like pain formulas and injury formulas and things like that. And, you know, yeah, I mean, as modern sort of research on it as an anti-inflammatory, that makes complete sense. It's powerful. It's really powerful.
Have you found certain approaches in Chinese medicine have been more beneficial than practices that, a westernized medical doctor would have?
One big tool that um, Chinese medicine really outshines Western medicine on is dietary therapy. When we look at um, an illness, we consider herbs and foods to be the same thing. Like maybe an herb is like a really concentrated form of a food. Like the energetic principles and signatures contained within the herb are just stronger than foods. Like there are things we use medicinally that you just wouldn't eat, but there's some that we would. And so we look at it then, if you shape somebody's diet the same way you would shape their herbal formula, then you can have, it's like every time they eat, they're getting treatment. So that actually can be really cool. So instead of thinking about like somebody's macronutrients and all their vitamins, which is important, don't get me wrong, we're also thinking about, are they getting enough of, certain kinds of energetics in their food or too much of certain energetics? And that can make a big difference in their health, because then it's like they're taking medicine with every meal. And then the other thing we tend to think about too is we look at how people digest their food. And so if the digestive system is working really, really well, then they're also going to have more benefit out of what they eat, because they're breaking things down completely, and it's making more and more energy and more of them and all the things that they need to stay healthy and less waste product. And so we tend to also not just shape the kinds of foods we tell people to eat, but how they eat, how often they eat, and how much they eat. And those become really important too. And I have lots of medical doctors as patients, and that none of them really know much more about their diet than the average like person who reads Prevention magazine or something.
Have you found that, for instance, if somebody comes in with a muscle injury or anything like that, how has acupuncture helped in those areas?
I think acupuncture for orthopedic problems is really powerful. I mean, it's powerful enough that, people have started doing what's called dry needling, which 20 years ago we used to call orthopedic acupuncture. But there's different reasons they use this dry needling term. But, it's so good for pain issues. And that's honestly, I would say that's the number one reason people probably come in most of the time, because they've got this pain or that pain. And it's really pretty powerful at helping your body's sort of own pain relieving abilities increase or work better, but also treating the root of the local area, maybe decreasing inflammation or relaxing muscles or producing more blood flow into an area. Sometimes it treats pain in a way that we don't even know why it works that way, but it does.
Yeah, that's really incredible, because I've had an experience where I went into acupuncture and I felt as that they put the needle, I think it was in my back, and I felt as though the muscle was spazzing.
Yeah.
Do you know the science behind that?
I mean, basically what's happening is when a muscle is really tight like that, most times what's happening is, if you think about a muscle as a whole bunch of fibers, and you'll get a few of the fibers that are stuck in the on position. And so they're making a knot. So when you rub somebody's shoulders and you feel those knots, those are places where some muscle fibers are stuck on and they're not relaxing. And they're kind of pulling everything into there. And then you get kind of some connective tissue binding up around that as well. And then you start to get poor blood flow. And so it just gets harder and stiffer because the blood flow is so bad. So nobody quite understands this. There's a lot of research around how this works, and they're not quite there yet. But if you take a needle and you slip it in there cross fiber like that, and you find those fibers that are stuck in the on position, and you tap on them with the needle a few times, they react by like resetting. And when they reset, they'll twitch really hard like that. And when they twitch, then they kind of lengthen back out to normal. And sometimes they'll tighten back up again, and so you have to do it a few times. But that's probably what you experienced, was that tension in those fibers just trying to release, and it'll do that really sudden twitch. It feels really weird,
It does.
but that's one of the signs that something good is happening.
Is there any specific practice that you've ingrained from another country that has really sat with you that you found was very effective in your practice?
Oh yeah, I mean, because I've spent so much time in China, most of what I think about is China. There are a few things I get from Japan, and um, and I get a couple things from Thailand that I really like, but the majority of things I use are from China. And I'm here in my clinic right now, and I have a whole pharmacy in here of herbs that we get from China. And, yeah, I mean, I think that I self prescribe herbs quite a bit because I've got the pharmacy, so I almost never get sick. Anytime there's something that's going on, I just get in the habit of self-prescribing an herbal formula and then modifying my diet. Those are the two things I do the most, and I got that. I got into that habit because of one of my mentors in China. So he would modify his diet on a really regular basis. Basically, he would say, "I feel this way today, so I'm going to eat more of this and less of that," or today I'll fast a little bit, and or something, and then take a small formula like one or two herbs or something one time a day, and then the next day it might be something else. It's not really in a weird hypochondriac sort of way. It's more like, when you're driving down the highway and you're holding the steering wheel and you're always just doing like these little adjustments. It's like that. You're just keeping the car on the road. So if I feel like today I wake up and I feel my stomach feels a little off, I'll try and figure out what's going on. And I may take a couple of things and eat a little less of something. Or if I'm a little tired, I might use something else and eat something else. And, the other thing that I then add into that is how I modify my exercise. So maybe today I'll maybe work out a little harder, or do a little more, stretching and a little less aggressive exercise or something like that. And so I really like to think of all of that, like I mentioned at the very beginning, thinking of practices like medicine. I think of, all aspects of life can sort of affect you in that way. Exercise is medicine, meditation is medicine, herbs are medicine, diet's medicine, food is medicine. And so you just understand what you need, and you're always twisting and tweaking it just a little bit. And there are, I do courses with my patients sometimes where I try and teach them, kind of basically like, this is your main group of imbalances. This is how you can understand them for yourself. These are foods that are good for these imbalances and bad for these imbalances. These are like exercises that are good and bad. And then you sort of teach them to have a very mindful approach to their own health, and then empower them with the knowledge. And so then they don't need me as much to be like constantly helping them with that. They can do more on their own.
Yeah. So it's really just by case basis.
Yeah, like the way I do that is we when I teach those kind of classes, like I do those online because they're pretty easy for people to start with, and we kind of go through all the things to look for, and then you just teach them how to do it, and you give them lists of foods and stuff, and it's not very hard, but everybody is so different. I mean, the two of us are probably have really different physical needs. And as a clinician, I figured that out in a few ways. One is that um, I do pretty extensive questioning. So, where is the headache? What's it feel like? What makes it feel better or worse? Like all of those things help me paint a picture of somebody. And then we used other diagnostics, like we use pulse diagnosis, and we look at people's tongues, and we kind of feel their neck and head, and, try and figure out what's going on there. And then when I can paint an accurate picture, Chinese natural sciences is really straightforward. So if something is stuck, you make it move. If it's too cold, you make it warm. If it's too warm, you cool it down. Like it's very straightforward. So we just create a story. If somebody's getting a tension headache because they're really stressed out, most of the times the story you can kind of create then is the stress is causing muscle tension. The muscle tension is then pulling on their head, and those sort of pathways go up over their head, and that's why they're getting the headache. So you need to deal with the muscle tension, and then you need to deal with the stress, And so we can deal with those in multiple ways: herbs, acupuncture, diet, whatnot. Herbs that we would use in that scenario would probably have like a muscle relaxing effect to them and a circulation promoting effect. So if the person isn't too hot constitutionally, like you mentioned turmeric with black pepper can help calm that down. Things that are accessible to your average person, that's a big one that can help relax the muscles and kill pain in that regard. There are lots of different ones. Some of them are really only accessible to herbalists. You can buy over the counter, but even just taking like a topical muscle balm and rubbing it on the shoulders and the back of the neck will relax the muscles and promote blood flow, and that can usually kill the headache. The things that I've seen work really well for people, I would say the turmeric and black pepper taken with a fat like fish oil, that actually is a pretty good painkiller. Because the research around turmeric is that if you take a little bit of black pepper with it, it makes it work hugely better. So you don't have to take as much turmeric, because a lot of people can't tolerate a lot of turmeric. It can give them stomach stuff, especially Westerners, So you take turmeric with a little black pepper, and then you need a fat to potentiate it. So, like, in Indian culture, you guys use a lot of dairy with the turmeric. So there's all the fat in the dairy, which helps you absorb it. And you can use dairy, but also just you can use fish oil too. And one of the reasons I like fish oil is it also helps almost like thin the blood in a way, and that can also kill pain. People who take fish oil regularly tend to have less chronic pain. So I like it like that.
Hey guys, I would like to take a moment to introduce you to our app, Yoga Plus. You will have access to an incredible selection of videos led by top instructors in yoga, fitness, nutrition, and so much more. Download our Yoga Plus app, available on iOS and Android today.